a new vlog. My voice is gonna sound off. I'm not gonna show it, but I have a canker sore like on the inside of my lip that's like right there, but on the inside, and it kind of hurts to talk because it goes against my teeth and it's so painful. But I finished 2 books yesterday, that being Two Dogs, which is our graphic novel, children's book pick of the month, and then I finished 1984, so therefore I have started 2 new books. I started The Warmth of Other Suns yesterday and I read 72 pages, but I'm about to read just a little section, like, you know, in the middle of a chapter where you will have just like a new section begin. I'm gonna do that right now for just my early afternoon, morning reading. So what is this book about? That's what I'm here to tell y'all. It is, in this epic, beautifully written masterwork, Pulitzer Prize winning author Isabel Wilkerson chronicles one of the great untold stories of American history: the decades-long migration of Black citizens who fled the South for northern and western cities in search of a better life. From 1915 to 1970, this exodus of almost 6 million people changed the face of America. She interviewed more than 1,000 individuals and gained access to new data and official records to write this definite and vividly dramatic account of how these American journeys unfolded, altering our cities, our country, and ourselves. And it's just like, I mean, I've only read, you know, like 10%, but so eye-opening to just, this person had to move here for this historical event to happen, and historical events impact all of us. It is just so crazy to think about all the little things that add up. Like, I mean, little things. Somebody moving from Mississippi to Chicago, moving from South Carolina to Chicago. If you know who I'm talking about there, shout out to you, because she was mentioned. Like that family, like let's say it happened like 3 generations ago. It got that person to where they are for this historical event to happen, and again, therefore, impact world history. And it's just incredible how all of that works. And something that I think is interesting right now that we're seeing in America, and I do think this will go into climate change as well. Not this book, but what I'm talking about, our current landscape, which, I mean, this is just seeing this compared to some other things that are happening, like people coming from Latin America to America and comparing how they are being treated versus how these migrants, and who were Americans just moving from one part of the country to another, how they were treated and how it was viewed, and really just the Jim Crow era of how all of that began and just what it was like is just crazy. But what I was getting at, with COVID, we saw a lot, because not every state shut down. My state was down for 2 weeks, and then they were like, we're opening back up. So a lot of these states in the South, we saw booms in populations. My state's one of the fastest growing states population-wise. Myrtle Beach, which is my area, is the fastest growing city in the United States as of last year. I don't know if that's changed, but we see cities like Austin, Nashville, Raleigh, where they are all populations just going up, 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 because people moved here during COVID because there weren't all the restrictions that were up north. And I wonder just if that's going to have a historical name later on. And as I was saying, with climate change, I do think that's going to even have, because all these people move south, and then it's just going to heat up here, and we, you know, the flooding, droughts, we've experienced like both of those fairly recently, and places that we originally thought were safe, like Asheville, we thought was safe, but now it's not safe for climate change because we saw what Hurricane Helene did. So all of these people are going to have to move again. I mean, maybe not them themselves, but their descendants, and that is just to think of migration patterns throughout history of, because how this is people, as I said, moving north, moving west, that's east, moving north, moving west, and now we're seeing a lot of people moving south. I don't know about moving west, but that is really interesting just to think about how people move in modern times. I don't think that a lot of times we think of migration being a modern day thing. We think of it being the hunter-gatherers, you know, people way back then, or sometimes people don't even think about it with humans. They think of how birds migrate north and south with the winter and summer and all. So it is really interesting because it's something that I haven't really thought that much about, and now I'm seeing it in a historical context and then applying it to, as I said, we're seeing people from Latin America migrating to the United States. We're seeing people within the United States moving because of laws and politics, that kind of thing. But those are just some thoughts right now. So as y'all saw, I went to Buccees. So I went in hopes of getting Halloween stuff, which they did have Halloween stuff, because I'm looking for legit Buccees merch because they sell a bunch of other brands. But like, it was just such a small selection because it's on the way out. Like, they already had Christmas stuff up, which is crazy. But we did get 2 Christmas things. So my dad got this little, I guess this pillow stuffed animal. Got these tags, like, why? So he got this, and I just thought I would show you. The little sweater is so cute. Almost looks like a kangaroo, but it is a dog. So he got that. And then when we went to get a basket, there was already something in the basket, and we felt bad for him, so we kept him. This is a Buccees slap bracelet. I have long sleeves on, so that's why I can't just slap it on there. But yeah, this is definitely for children because that is very tight. I thought it looked like it would go around a bottle at first. It was like, see, I feel like you could, like, a beer bottle could, like, go in there. But we have him, random Buccees snap bracelet. And then when we were looking at those pillows, I saw this laying flat on the counter, not on the hook it was supposed to be on. A little Christmas dachshund, my dog Max, who, you know, y'all know, maybe y'all don't, he passed away 4 years ago. So he was like my first dog. He's my man. And it looks just like him. So and he had a December birthday too, by the way, Pearl Harbor Day. So I did pick this up. This is from Primitives by Kathy. I don't know if this is handmade or anything like that. Oh no, it says made in China. I mean, it still could be handmade, but little dachshund, cute. I got to 22%, which is 51 pages read in the warmth of other sun. So I want to go over my thoughts with y'all. I don't know how many thoughts I wrote down on that pen. It's supposed to go back to there. Okay, so this is where it starts, because we do have like 3 people that we're following, so I do just make a mark on my page being like, we're switching POVs in a sense, since this is nonfiction. But I was introduced to Persian, I think is how you say it. The author has been calling him by his last name, but Robert Joseph Pershing Foster. He is our man from Louisiana, from Monroe, which Monroe's has been coming up a lot lately. I have been there, but he, right off the bat when we're introduced to him, because we are introduced to each person in 1996, and then looking back at their life story, I'm like, yeah, he's confident. He's in Los Angeles, and like, I liked him right off the bat. I mean, I've liked all the people, but I like, there's just something about him, charismatic, that is the word. So this note I made, and I think we kind of talked about it earlier, it's just the Jim Crow South was like a different country compared to the rest of America. So we had the Civil War, and we had the slaves are all freed after that, you know. But we have an America that's reeling, and the South that is an era of rebuilding. A lot of your major southern cities are having to rebuild at that point. Think Atlanta. Atlanta's the main one I'm thinking about. It is in the process of rebuilding, and also it takes a long time. Usually, I'm so sorry about the dog barking. She's usually not out this late, but she didn't want to come in. Like, I brought her in and then she ran right back out. But back to Atlanta. So it takes a while for laws to pass. I say that, but I'm like, is that true? I don't know. But the Southerners were like, okay, we want to go back to this caste system that we have had. We have to find out how we're going to do that with these laws that have been put in place after the war, after the South has lost the war. Oh my, that's a very loud jet. I'm so sorry about being interrupted. I went to go get her because she's barking at the neighbors behind me. They get home, they get in the garage and everything because they have kids, so the kids are all screaming. And they get into the garage, they shut the garage, yet she is still barking. Would not budge, would not come in. So I finally got her in, but that's so annoying when that happens. I'm like, why? Why are you barking? So I know we were talking about the Jim Crow era South. Okay, so the South is in an era of rebuilding. I don't remember that's the official era, which is bad. In my bad history class where we didn't learn anything except Donald Trump, that was, we would take this test like every week, and one of them was knowing the eras of American history. And I think that's the era of rebuilding. So the South is like, how are we going to get back to this system that we had, but make it work with the laws that have been implemented on them after the war? And because after the can't say the word, after the slaves are freed, there was a lot of hope in the Black community. And things were looking positive until all these Jim Crow laws went into effect. And they honestly don't know if Jim Crow was a real person. There was a song that, it was like a whole little act that this guy had. And shivers because I was outside. It's cold. It's 65, which is cold to me. But there was a song and act that this guy had, and that might be where the term came from. Nobody really knows. It's lost to history, apparently. But yeah, it's like a different country, and how I was comparing it to people from Latin America immigrating to America. It's really like, it's another country. Like, when they went up, and all this isn't to say being in the North or being in the West was better, because it still had its flaws. There was still racism. I think anywhere you go into this world, there's going to be racism in one way or another, which is awful and sad and sucks, but I don't know how you fix that. That's a whole other can of worms for us to get into. Well, a lot of times the people who did go north, when they would come back south for like the holidays or whatever, they would look all glamorous. They would look like they stepped out the pages of a magazine or walked off the screen of the movies. And it's just crazy, the night and day difference between the South and the North, and I mean the West as well, at this time in American history. Next, okay, so cotton. I've been drawing my cotton fields all day today, but that's just my one more note. I'm not going to go into the own personal story that I have around this, because one, I was not there for it. It's just a story that I heard, and I haven't asked the people for permissions, but, and I see this stuff online about people, I feel like it was somebody famous that I saw this somewhere recently, of, Black people like finding offense to maybe having cotton as artwork and stuff like that. And a lot of white people do not, and I don't want to say a lot, but people who I know have been like, why did they take offense to that? Because like white people were picking cotton too. Like, that has been what I've heard. Which, I mean, yeah, sure, white people picked cotton. And I think a lot of people, when they think that, so they think slavery, so they're thinking back to 175 years ago or however long. Sorry that I don't know the exact date, but still there has not been that's not that long of time. And then secondly, so sharecropping, I have obviously always heard the term sharecropping, but this book gave me more of an understanding of what that is. So they would be Black people would be working the land of that they would get like these little parcels of land that they own it, I'm pretty sure, but they're working under usually a white guy. I don't know what his role is technically called. And sometimes, so they would, as I said, it's called sharecropping. They would come at the end of the season. There's all that bushels of cotton or whatever kind of, we have citrus in here sometimes, wherever you are in the world, whatever that crop is, and you come and bring it in. So he's like, the main man, the white guy, is like, okay, we did good this year. And he doesn't give any kind of payment to the black family, the black man who was working this, which women did too. Yeah, they could be doing all this work and don't end up getting any money for it. Sure, they have lodging and a place to live, but working in those fields every day and getting that triple digit, getting 100 pounds or whatever, carrying that on your back. And again, we have some women, our character of Ida Mae, 16-year-old, working in the field. And I mean, she's little, and she could barely get it to 100 pounds every day. And so even though in their situation was a little bit better than some of these others where they did get some money, from doing this work, but the guy the boss or whatever, I don't remember what that term is, he told Ida Mae's husband, he's like, she's not used to working in the field. You need to have a talk with her so we can be getting more cotton, and therefore he gets more money. So we had the Depression happen, and obviously in your cities like New York and Boston, as I said, the Depression, those rich families there, they're not buying cotton pillowcases, they're not buying cotton suits made of that fabric, so therefore the South isn't exporting as much cotton as they have in the past. So that might mean the farmer guy, the white guy, he might not get the new Ford. Sucks for him. But the ones who are actually working in the field, since they're not, working as much, they don't even have enough money to put shoes on the children's feet. Like, crazy. So then I had this quote from page 97. So yes, speaking of all the sharecropping, the cotton, all that I was talking about on page 97, it says, above her was an entire economy she could not see, but which ruled her days and determined the contours of her life. And I think that's so, we can still relate this to our own time. This is in the 1920s, by the way. So 100 years later, I think we can still say that, because we have all these people working on the bottom, but you have this whole system ahead of you, and we're going to get more into that. So there were bankers, planters, planters, I think was the word, I couldn't remember, but merchants, warehouse clerks, fertilizer wholesalers, seed sellers, plow makers, mule dealers, gin owners. A good crop and a high price made not much improvement to the material discomforts of Ida Mae's existence, but meant a planter's wife could begin to dream of a new parlor carpet and a piano, and a salesman of farm implements could be lavish with more expensive cigars that he smoked last year. On Wall Street, there were futures and commodities traders wagering on what the cotton she had yet to pick might go for next October. There were businessmen in Chicago needing Oxford shirts, socialites in New York and Philadelphia wanting lace curtains and organdy evening gowns, closer to home, closer than one dared to contemplate. There were Klansmen needing their white cotton robes and hoods. That line, I was just like, oh my gosh. And yeah, that's another thing when I was saying in that era after the Civil War, we see the KKK really rise. Yeah, so then kind of back to Ida Mae, kind of nicer things. When we see her in 1996 in Chicago, she lives on the south side of Chicago, and all the guys in the neighborhood, they all call her grandma, and she might not be their biological grandma, but yes, she has such grandma vibes. She just seems like such a nice lady. I mean, I don't know if she's still alive, but there's something about her that's just so grandmotherly. Yeah, I love her. I like all these people. But as I said, so in this chapter that I just read, I don't know if there's a number on the chapters. Okay, it's called A Burdensome Labor. We have all three of our people that we're seeing. So we start with Ida May, then we go to George Starling, I think was the name. So we are going from each one, and the author does a great job at re-immersing you into each story, reminding you of this is what was going on with George, this is what was going on with Ida May, this is what was going on with Pershing. So that has been really nice. Just you're away for a little while, but you really just get right back into that other person's story, because I was kind of scared when I knew we would be following 3 people, and I mean, y'all see the size of this book, it's 583 pages, that I was like, oh no, I hope I don't forget all of that stuff with George when we go to Robert. But luckily, the author has done a great job at transitioning us from person to person. So that is all for the Warmth of Other Suns for the day. I got to 40% in Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman, so I will have an update tomorrow for y'all when I get to 50%, because I'm reading about 10% a day in there. Okay, yeah, the screen's where it needs to be, but I am starting a new ebook pick since I did finish 1984. Did I talk about my thoughts on 1984? I gave it a 2.25. My main issue, well, didn't connect with the characters. Atmosphere, I would have liked a little, like, I liked the world that we were in. I do understand that this is supposed to be a critique of government and not like an epic sci-fi. I just was really confused with how the world building was done. The writing I did not like. It was a lot to take in. On my Kindle version, so I don't know if with different versions it's different, I had some paragraphs that went on, I had some paragraphs that went on for 6 pages. I get lost in that, where I lose the point of what's supposed to be happening. Plot, it falls on being a classic. Everybody has heard of 1984. I had a general understanding of what happens in 1984, so therefore nothing really surprised me. But it is a very thought-provoking book, and I would still recommend it because it's a classic, you know. But what am I gonna have as my next ebook? Can it be any more different? This is on Kindle Unlimited, and it is Barbarian Alien by Ruby Dixon. This is the second book in the Ice Planet Barbarian series, and let's see what it's about. This is such a long description here. Liz Kramer swears she'll find a way off this alien planet she's stuck on. Then she meets Rahush, the surliest and stubbornest alien who won't leave her alone. She just might be okay with that. 12 humans are left stranded on a wintry alien planet. I'm one of them. Yay me. Yay me. In order to survive, we have to take on a symbiote that wants to rewire our bodies to live in this brutal place. I like to call it a cootie. And my cootie's a jerk because it also thinks I'm the mate to the biggest, grumpiest alien of the bunch. Rahush believes the cootie's right, so he steals me away from the group, determined to make me fall in love for him or else. He has no idea who he's up against, and if I didn't want his insufferable self so much, thanks Cootie, I'd let him know exactly what I'm thinking. As it is, I'm doing my best to fight this instant attraction. Okay, we had one instant attraction book in October, now we're going to another, but okay. Just because the symbiote thinks we're supposed to be together doesn't mean I have to go along with it. And if we fool around a little, it's merely biology. It doesn't mean I'm in love or that I'm destined to be with him. So I did actually really enjoy the first book in the series. I think a lot of people are just like, alien romance series, how funny. There's some deep themes here. I think this romance, this alien smut book had, or at least the first book, had some really good themes. And I did thoroughly enjoy it. It wasn't a 5-star, but it was somewhere in the 4-star. I loved it. So we are going to continue the series. I know some of y'all have told me that this one was on Kindle Unlimited and everything. So thankfully I do now have Kindle Unlimited, so I can have that free, and then I do have my physical copy as well, so when I talk about it in the vlogs for y'all. This is where I'm going to be ending the video, so if you made it all the way through, leave an alien emoji in the comments below, and as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!